In the world's oceans, there are cables along the seafloor that provide internet really all over the world, but those cables may be increasingly under threat. NATO is stepping up patrols after a series of cables were cut, including one between Newfoundland and Cape Breton. Some officials say they believe the damage is being done intentionally, and they do suspect Russia and China could be to blame. Joining me with more on this is Christian Leprecht. He's a professor at the Royal Military College of Canada and Queen's University as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Anne-Marie.
It's Lindsey this morning, actually, that you're speaking with. So to give people context, there's an average of about 150 to 200 incidents each year of undersea cables being damaged, the majority of which are blamed on accidents from either, ship anchors or fishing activity. So why do some officials believe some of the damage is, in fact, intentional?
So we've seen an increasing amount of cables being severed in places where you don't normally expect these types of incidents to happen, and where there's increasing evidence that this is deliberately related to vessels that traveled through that area. And we also know that Russia has deliberately developed that capability, both through its submarine fleet with specialized submarines that have the capability to sever these cables, as well as through its shadow fleet, where we now have increasing evidence that that shadow fleet is being deployed not just to circumvent sanctions, but precisely to disrupt critical communications as well as pipeline infrastructure.
Can you tell me a little bit more about this evidence? I mean, why do officials believe Russia or China could be behind this?
Yeah, Lindsay, look, threats are inherently about intent, capability, and opportunity. And clearly, Russia and China both have intent, both in terms of demonstrating the signaling effect and the deterrence effect. And they have the capability to do this. And they have lots of opportunity here in terms of trying to make life more difficult for Western countries, and in particular to isolate key links on the one hand to areas that are already relatively isolated. So think about the three Baltic countries, where, of course, the Canadian Armed Forces have an important mission in Latvia in terms of deterrence, and the broader transatlantic community and transatlantic cable infrastructure, where we've seen infrastructure between, for instance, the United Kingdom, as well as infrastructure that provides connections even within Canada underwater, being severed to the point where these incidents are now so frequent that it is difficult simply to chalk them up to the regular types of accidents.
From November to December, there were 3 different incidents of cables being damaged in the Baltic Sea, along with the one here in Newfoundland. Then on January 3rd, one was damaged near Taiwan. So if this was the work of Russia or China, you're talking about their intent is for, isolating and isolation. Is that the main basis for the intent, do you think?
Yeah, so look, I think what a lot of people don't realize is that about 95% of communications in the world run through these undersea, underwater cables. Most people think that it runs through satellite, but satellite infrastructure is actually disproportionately expensive and disproportionately small in terms of the pipeline of what you can get through there. And there's relatively few of these underwater cables, and they all connect on certain choke points. So it's not like they sort of randomly distribute across the world. So if you know what those choke points are, which are public, it's relatively easy to do significant amounts of damage, and it's relatively difficult to protect for that damage, because effectively you have to intervene proactively before you think somebody is about to sever a communications link, and that can be difficult under international law and under international conventions.
So what can be done to prevent this?
So clearly, one of the elements that you see is countries deliberately publicizing this. So to show that we understand what is up, we understand what Russia and China, or at least affiliates, are attempting to do here, and that we are trying to do better to protect that infrastructure and trying to publicize the negative attention. The negative attention won't so much deter Russia, but often China is a country that doesn't like to draw deliberate attention to its malfeasance across the world. And so that might have some deterrent effect in China backing off some of the actions that it has been taking.
Professor Christian Leprecht, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure, Lindsay. Thank you.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.